we're going to be using Wicked Reports to talk about a very specific case study of optimizations based on understanding of traffic flow, but also understanding how Meta ignores what you want and how Meta is going to kind of do what it does best, which is achieving what you ask it to set out to do. Maximizing the conversions, maximizing the sales, and using sales as the objective. When you ask Meta to take that particular action, it will do some things on its own that you're probably not assuming that's going to happen, but it does happen anyway. And when you start to crack open the Meta platform and dive deeper into the metrics that Meta cannot give you, the Meta won't give you, and also Meta kind of, skews the data a bit, you sort of see how you can set up your campaign's traffic flow and creative messaging within that flow to optimize for a point of scale that is going to potentially be limitless when the structure is set up and then you understand what ad copy is working at each stage. So very, very simple type of methodology, but we're going to be covering all of the metrics that you need to be very good at in understanding and also how they correlate together. And for you to get a better picture on what does Meta say and what actually is happening inside of the platform. And so I'll dive into this one case study here. I'm going to share screen. Let's do this here. All right. So this is inside of a account. It's been kind of white labeled here, but this is a company that I'm a part equity owner in. And this is something that is really helpful for us. We use Wicked Reports to understand the traffic flow, but also compare it to the actual Meta platform information to say, aha, that no longer makes sense. And now I actually see what's going on. So it's going to be very data heavy. We will be able to potentially show a bit of the creative at the same time with inside the platform, so you kind of get understanding of it. But I think it's really important to know the main pieces of information to really look at first to say, why isn't this scaling? Or why is it when I put ad spend here, it doesn't work like I thought it was supposed to work, or it's not measuring the appropriate information. So check this out. This is only 7 days worth of data. This 7 days worth of data is because we actually started the tracking 7 days ago. We started scaling up. The scale has been very, very good. It's been about 100% scale year over year for the last 4 years. And we sort of hit a wall. And we're not sure as to where that wall is, but the NCAC just keeps increasing. I mean, it went from in the hundreds into 200s now. And we're seeing some growth, but we're seeing a high incremental NCAC growth. So it's very expensive. And obviously it has a great MER, media efficiency ratio, because it is heavily a subscription model. But I wanted to share with you some things that we're looking at that will help you apply to your own day-to-day level and say, aha, maybe this is what's happening with mine. So in this area here, there's 3 L1 campaigns. These L1 campaigns are going towards cold traffic. There's one that is dogs and cats, one that's dogs only, and one that's cat only. It's a dog and cat product. And inside of these L1s, everyone assumes, okay, it's prospecting. And that prospecting is going to be bringing me some new good traffic, and it's going to work fairly evenly. And we're going to do some good creative testing. Let's see what our cold traffic prospecting is doing. On the other side of this, we don't realize that 71% of the traffic inside of that campaign is cold. That means 29% is warm. This one is 27% warm. This is half warm. We have an L1 that is half warm, which is fairly crazy because this is the cat only. So now we're looking to say, okay, well, cats always had a fairly good in-app platform and a fairly good in-app metrics. But actually the NCAC is really, really high, and that's some warm traffic. What's going on? There's some oddities here. Well, when we're looking at the reasons as to why things may not be able to scale, is you can see this one's got the highest ROAS inside in-app. So 0.31, your highest NCAC 0.32, your medium NCAC now 0.31, medium NCAC. These two are about the same.
Stands to reason.
Right. So people are like, well, let's just, this one's having the best, one click. And again, they're subscription models. So we're willing to pay a premium for these because they have great LTV. But this is now all of a sudden you immediately start to see the cold versus warm. This is cold, a good NCAC, bad ROAS. Cold, a good NCAC, a bad ROAS. A warm, a bad NCAC, and a good ROAS. So these are flipped. Okay, so now we have first action item number 1. This is remarketing half the time. What is it remarketing? Well, possibly these two campaigns. Okay, well, now we're even in a world of hurt because I'm taking my cat only, remarketing my dog. Interesting. So now we have a first level of, this is kind of broken. Now, the other part we have to think about is inside of Meta is going to tell us that these CPCs are actually, there we go, like $2, $1.97, $1.81. However, because Wicked actually tracks effective cost per new visit, we're looking at $3, $2.56, $3.28 for a new click. So now even more complexity when you're not having this data. We thought it was $1.81, which is actually the cheapest. It is actually the most expensive, but it has the best ROAS. Why isn't it scaling? It's actually costing you more money to bring a new user to the site because it has the highest amount of NCAC because this is warm, but it's bringing you remarketing cheap clicks. It's actually not going to scale at a very good level because it is the most expensive first-time click.
Yep.
All right. Now we have kind of a first thing that's achieved here, which is okay. What is actually driving some incremental value? I have two of these actually pulled up at the same time because I'm going to share with you also the difference between the first click attribution of one and then the last click attribution of one, because now we're going to look at, okay, if it's half form traffic, what's actually going on. So
Can I just stop you there and interrupt? Like what you're showing here is something that is relatively new inside of Wicked Reports. Too. All these things like NCAC. By now, everyone should know it. And well, we've only had this is our third show, so maybe they should know. Customer. Right. NCAC.
People speed up.
Come on, everybody, get with us. NCAC is new customer acquisition cost.
Yeah.
So, and you're also looking at percentage of new visits, and you're also looking at effective CPNV, which is we have a lot of metrics here. We have an alphabet soup of metrics, which, by the way, if you want to get the translation of all of this, I would head on over to perpetualtraffic.com/MPI. You can also get it at tier11.com, MPI, as in marketing performance indicators. But this is a new interface for Wicked, which now shows this stuff. A couple months ago, you didn't have this. It was always there. It was always lurking in the background. And Scott and his team, they were very attuned to like what it is that we're looking at now and you're looking at in order to be able to talk about this stuff. Because before we were sort of flying blind, we might have to go to third-party platforms, but just these metrics alone this is really, really important because this is the next level of marketing. It's not just in-app ROAS. And I know I'm speaking, I'm preaching to the converted, as my old boss used to say. He also used to say we're singing out of the same hymnal. I don't know. He was very religious. But anyway,
how old is he?
He was it's like 70 now. 80. I don't even know if he's still around.
We're churning the same butter, Ralph.
Churning the same butter there, boy. Yeah, we're dialing the same channel on the TV. But this is new stuff here. So if you haven't explored Wicked Reports, like this is new things that are giving insights into marketing activity that we didn't have previously on this platform. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. The other part too is that we don't want to take these as gospel. These metrics are not 100% true. It's physically impossible to actually have 100% accurate attribution. They are close. How close are they? No one will ever know. But what I can tell you is that if you measure all of these broken clocks the same every day and trends happen, directionally, it's correct.
You're pretty much going to know it's around, I don't know, whatever it is right now, 3 o'clock.
Yeah, like all I know.
2:55, 3:10, but it's thereabouts 3 o'clock.
Right? Like if this might be 80 and that might be 60, but that's still higher than this.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is they're directionally accurate. And that's what we're looking to count on and then test and iterate. And then also measure again. It's measured twice, cut once. And so that's exactly right. It's a big deal. And what's interesting about this whole thing is when you start to kind of now go a little bit, this is the basics. This is just snapshot of health.
Yeah.
Now we'll go into more complicated. when we then open up the ads, we can kind of see some other information here that's populating. We get to see the actual ad sets and the ads. And now the ad sets and the ads are then going to tell us a whole secondary story. And this secondary story is going to be what's actually working and what is not working. And when I say what actually is working, what's not working, we're going to dive one layer deeper into more complicated. So this, again, I'm using Wicked Reports. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm sales pitching Wicked Reports. I'm using this as a tool. The education that you must learn here is the value. This is this is a toolbox, but if you throw a hammer through a plate glass window, you're a really crappy carpenter.
Right.
So this is the toolbox that we use. So if you look at the next level down, we're looking at two different things. You have first click and last click. So you're going to start to see some things change. 259 first click, 273 last click. Okay. Then we have 698 first click and also 698. This is
that as like from a CAC and an NCAC?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay.
Absolutely not. Nope.
I'm just making sure. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. We want to be under 200. That's our goal. So that's what we're doing. We're using this tool in order to get there. And what's interesting about this is what we don't ever really know is this is a 0.3, that's a 0.42. So we're okay. We're about 0.06 off, but holy shit, we're double the NCAC, more than double the NCAC. Okay, now this starts to come to light as to why this is a bad idea.
And you are pulling that column is being pulled from in-app because it's Facebook. Right. That is in-app ROAS there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm doing a bad job of explaining this. The Facebook columns that you're seeing here are pulled directly through API from Facebook themselves. So this is what happens when you log in. This is more the truth.
It's cleaned up a bit based upon our exclusive connection, but still it's not 100%.
Right. And so that's like, again, these are directional. Like this you see here is better than that. Now, oh my gosh, that a lot much better. So I probably shouldn't be spending that on here. Yeah. So there's some things here that we're going to see. Now watch this though. Here's another part that no one can really ever contest to. And this is where everyone just says, well, I don't know, Advantage Plus. And they just default to Advantage Plus. One big thing, cross your fingers, trust the meta gods. Hopefully their stock's rising and they give me cheap CPMs and then it's going to do good for a business. Yeah. Is the question that everyone answers is, well, we don't really know what was the first shown, second shown, first click, second click, third click, fourth click, etc. Okay. We're not going to be 100% accurate on that here either, but we're directionally accurate. Now, what do I mean by that? You see how we have a $1,500 cost, or sorry, $4,900 cost here. We have revenue, but $4,900 cost.
Look back period is, sorry to keep interrupting.
7 days.
7 days. Got it.
I only have 7 days worth of data. This is just the first 7 days of tracking. So all these numbers are going to change next week as the data bakes, because
for sure.
Here's the crazy part though. These new visits are only in a 7-day period since inception. Yeah. This is as cold as it will ever look, which means next week, these will look warmer when the people last week that didn't show up this week show up next week.
Obvious question for me. What's the buying cycle on these products? Is it less than 7 days?
11 days.
11 days. All right. So you're really early in on the data. Okay.
Really early. Yeah. Really early. So we don't want to make any very expensive decisions off of this stuff today, but here's what's kind of crazy is, okay, this 273 here has a decent amount of purchases. There's $1,500 in revenue and a decent amount of spend. Yep. This 698 also has a decent amount of spend, but the changes when you look at first click versus last click, only the top row changes, 273 and 259. So you see that actually is less expensive first click, more expensive second click. Okay. Now when we go down to the next row, this 698, well, 698 first click. All right, 698 first click. Okay, maybe, started some journeys and we got some good like downstream effect into L2 and L3. Maybe they Google the brand, maybe they came back organically, maybe they signed up for an email, certain, all those stuff will come to light. But 698 first click and 698 last click, this is your L1 actual ad copy creative comparative to the other ad.
Yeah.
They are clicking on this much more, they're clicking on this first time and they're clicking on this first time. What's funny about this is this actually got more expensive on the second click. What is that an indicator of? Well, it means that we probably had a first click somewhere over here, but this second click actually converted them. And that's why it's a higher cost on second click.
Interesting.
All right. Now in an L1 perspective, what is actually getting a first click, one click conversion at a high amount of conversions, 28, for example, where this thing is showing 698 with only 2 from a first click perspective, or sorry, 698 and 2 from a first click perspective and a last click perspective. But you can see the sales go from 3 on first click to 6 on last click. this is way overspent and not as compelling. This is the ad that is actually resonating with your majority cold traffic audience. You can actually see that this 68 being warmer means that on my second click going from 3 to 6, I'm way overspent on an ad that is barely doing any help for the first ad and is tacking on a whole bunch of NCAC because it is warmer and doing the second click in my L1s more often.